Welcome back, Laneaholics. I'm your host, Dr. Lane. Today we're going to be talking about the communication plan. Now, the communication plan is extremely important. It is probably one of the easiest tools to actually do, but it is one that holds our feet to the fire, so to speak, or holds us accountable for making sure we cover three things. And these three things I took from General James Mattis. I called him Mad Dog Mattis. He was a Marine general. Look up to this guy. He was a great warrior. And what he used to say is, what do I know? Who else needs to know? And have I told them? And this is a really effective way to make sure that when we're communicating pieces of our plan, how we're moving forward with our project, what we're doing with different resources, that key stakeholders and key groups actually have an understanding of what we need from them, right? What they can provide for us. So there's built in a feedback loop. It lets everybody know exactly what's going on rather than them actually filling in the blanks on their own. And now the keys to a good communication plan is it should be simple so they can be understood by all. It should also have the most current information on it, meaning it's a living document as with the others. Make sure it's up to date and have a feedback loop. What type of feedback do we need? So actually call it out. If you're looking for feedback from certain individuals like key stakeholders or groups of some of your subject matter experts, make sure you put that in there. And also it's going to help to maintain trust, right? So when you're doing the project, nothing's going on behind anybody's back, nothing's happening in a vacuum. When we're communicating effectively, it also prevents rumors and that what you would call the water cooler talk, so to speak, back when we used to actually go and have water coolers in our office. But the thing is, the rumors can't be there because what happens when we don't tell people, when we don't give people the information, naturally humans are going to do what? Assume, right? So we want to make sure that we don't leave room for assumption. We communicate what we want to communicate so we control that dialogue. And it also helps us to manage expectations. So when we're talking to key stakeholders and they may be pushing more than we can handle, or maybe we could be pushed a little bit harder, or maybe we're on the right track. In any case, we can manage the expectations as we're moving forward. And IT is one of the best groups to help us do that, especially when we're dealing with optimizing and then automation, right? So you can manage expectations every step of the way. Now, the first of the two pieces that we fill out is called the stakeholder analysis. And the stakeholder analysis is an internal close hold document, right? We're not saying bad things about people, but we are talking about key stakeholders. So we just want to be really, really careful that we just keep this within our team and make sure that we're communicating with the correct stakeholders. So we're going to identify essentially which stakeholders do we need during the planning phases and which ones we need for the implementation phases. Now we use what's called a power and influence grid. Now this is a very oversimplified version, but it makes you think, right? If somebody's very powerful and influential and they have a huge interest in the project, then we want to make sure we're managing them closely, all the way down to maybe they don't have much power and influence and they're slightly interested, but we still need to make sure that they're in the loop. We need to monitor them. Is there anything I can do for them? Do they need any more? Or just monitor their actions. And then keeping somebody informed if they have a higher interest, but don't hold much power or influence. We still want to make sure that they're informed, right? Because if they're really interested, they could be an ally moving forward. And then there's also keep satisfied. So somebody with high power and influence, it's like, yeah, whatever, do your project, right? We want to make sure that we're keeping them satisfied. We don't want them to turn negative on us or have a bad attitude toward this process improvement event. So we got to figure out, do we want to keep them satisfied, monitor, keep informed, or manage closely? And those are the categories on the grid. Could it be more comprehensive with like 10 different categories? Sure. We get that all the time from students. I want to put medium. I got it. Most of these tools are not meant to be some dogmatic tool. They're just simply something to get you thinking and then hold you accountable for actually communicating with people or doing whatever it is you said you're going to do. That's the key with most of the tool. The second part is the actual communication plan. And as you can see by column 1, you're going to be looking at the audience. It's going to be reserved for groups of people. And so for the media, we want to put something down in how are we going to be communicating with them? Is it on WebEx? Is it Microsoft Teams? Or are you going to be using Zoom, Google Meet, whatever it is you're going to be using for the platform? And then I don't get too burdened about the purpose and topic of discussion, meaning when they blend or bleed together, that doesn't matter to me. Somewhere in there, build in a feedback loop and tell them exactly what it is you need. So when you're putting this communication strategy together, it's, hey, I need feedback from this particular group. We need to make sure that they're helping us to manage expectations as we're moving forward. This particular group is going to be really good for telling them what our roadblocks are to see if they can help remove those. Right? This group is going to be great for if we have an idea and we want to see if they think it's going to even work before we put pen to paper on it. right? So all those things are in the purpose and topics of discussion. And then we go into the accountability. Again, with this tool, only one person can be accountable. And then frequency. So putting on their weekly or monthly or daily or whatever it's going to be, please refrain from writing as needed. That is a cop-out in most cases. Oh, we're just going to communicate as needed. I get that for some groups, and I agree with that for some groups, but I'm going to tell you it's rare. If you're going to put as needed, say as needed on top of our Friday meeting with them. Right? So don't just put as needed as a cop-out, put actually something on there. And the reason is, if I put on there that I need to communicate with this particular group of SMEs every Friday, then I'm going to do it. If I put as needed, I'm probably going to miss it. It's going to fall by the wayside, fall through the cracks, and we're just not going to end up doing it. And then that's going to come back and bite us in the rear end. And then any sort of notes that you're going to have, does this particular group do they like brevity? Are we going to be using some sort of group chat? So keep it, succinct, whatever notes that you're going to have for these folks. That pretty much summarizes what the communication plan is all about. It's a relatively easy tool to fill out, and it's done usually very quickly. And then if you actually have questions about, well, what type of platform am I going to use, or what's the purpose, or are there any notes and how they like to be briefed? My wife likes to throw this one out there. She says this right here. Guess what? Go ask them. So don't just make things up. When you're going to do the tool and you're going to ask what's the topic and the purpose and how are we going to communicate with them, go and ask. All right, y'all. Hope this helps you fill out your comm plan. I'll see you in the classroom.